overall violence trends remain at their lowest levels despite these attacks. Moreover, as we approach the Iraqi elections, it's not surprising that Sunni extremist groups would be seeking to disrupt those elections and discredit the government. The good news is that as of yet, the attacks actually haven't had that effect. They have not disrupted the Iraqi political process, and we fully expect there to be safe and secure elections, and are working with the UN to make sure that that happens. The things you don't read about are all the high-profile attacks that the Iraqi security forces have successfully disrupted over the past few months, which are significant. All of these groups have ties to Iran. Iran's activities across the political, security, economic, and diplomatic spheres continue to pose a significant challenge to Iraq's long-term stability and political independence. By leveraging both overt and covert means to influence Iraqi political dynamics, Iran hopes to achieve its strategic goal of a weak Iraqi state that is beholden to Tehran. The recent controversy over the disqualification of hundreds of candidates accused of ties to the Ba'ath Party represents another pre-election challenge. The issue is actually not, as much in the media have described, purely or solely a sectarian issue. In fact, there are more Shia Arabs on the list than there are Sunni Arabs on the disqualification list. What this list really represents is an attempt by elements with close ties to Iran and some Islamist parties to single out secular and nationalist politicians and try to eliminate them before the election. By the end of August, there will be a fundamental change in the U.S. mission in Iraq. The counterinsurgency and combat mission in Iraq will have ended, and we will have transitioned to a more limited mission set for our U.S. military, which focuses on limited counterterrorism operations done jointly with Iraqi security forces, continued support for Iraqi security forces, and force protection for military and civilian entities, to include United Nations entities that continue their work to build the capacity of the Iraqi government at the central and local level.
Politics has returned to normalcy in Iraq, and that's a fantastic outcome. And very positive, especially because the timeline of the American drawdown appears to be coinciding with the Iraqis' ability to get this right. If we want to create the kind of political effect in Afghanistan that the surge in Iraq did, namely provide security and it changes the political dynamic, makes leaders more willing to make brave choices that will stabilize the country in the long term, we've got to give them a better sense that we're going to be there as long as the problem needs managing, not as long as we feel it's politically convenient.
We must say that the fight the United States is involved in this area is only one element of a wider fight, wider battle that is being waged between the jihadists of all kinds and the free world, Israel included. Not only included, but being on the front line. And whereas the United States fights a string of that jihadist groups in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, which is mainly the Sunni Al-Qaeda-like group, we find ourselves directly threatened by the other group, which is made of Iran supporting Hezbollah, supporting Syria, supporting Hamas, and trying to wipe us off the face of the map.
The West forgot Afghanistan and concentrated on Iraq, a country which has nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. It has nothing to do at that time with that type of terrorism which were responsible for 9/11. And we know now that the reasons were given for the intervention in Iraq were falsified. And this means also to learn that Afghanistan was never a country which was a centralized country. It was a regional, tribal, ethnic country where they had a king on top of that with not a lot of power. And therefore it's important that we go back to that and find solution with the ethnic, regional, tribal leaders. Because in the time, as all the power was concentrated on Iraq, the Taliban came back in Afghanistan. The Taliban controls now nearly 80% of Afghanistan.